All right, day 20. Still with the vulnerability thing. Not doing it. Don't care. Not going to be vulnerable. But I will take the what is a common mistake people make in your niche/hobby for 100. I like ham radio. What is a common mistake people make? I'm going to say not reading the manual. And, I would say a lot of questions that people have can be answered just by reading the manual. There's a lot to be said for not reading it. I, try to figure things out myself. Then when I get stuck, I normally go to the internet, ask Google AI or, some other source. And as a last resort, I'll check the manual. So, guilty. But I would say that's probably a thing that people do, just in a lot of things, You find something, I was just putting together a trampoline a few weeks ago, and it was just laying out parts and just started putting them together, and the better 3/4 was like, "You're doing it wrong." I'm like, "All right." Well, she had read the manual, figured it out. But what else? Okay, so with the ham radio hobby, what else do people do wrong? I'm gonna say not wrong, but they spend a lot of money on antennas. Like, stupid amounts of money on antennas. And it's not like they can't be built for much less. More expensive does not mean better. I have a vertical antenna that I love. It's a quarter wave vertical antenna, and basically that means that it's good in all directions. I love that antenna because it's good in all directions. Sometimes that's not desirable. Sometimes you want to only point in one direction to eliminate some noise or focus your antenna on one specific source. But I like it because it is good for contacting a lot of people or having them contact you, because it doesn't matter what direction they are from you. So that's pretty cool. The other thing I like about the vertical antenna is I've been playing with some different designs, and you can increase the gain of the antenna by playing with different pieces of it and modifying it. So, what you could spend easily $600, $700, $800 on a pre-made antenna that might not perform as well as, $15 of parts, and I feel like, just saying that, I feel like a ham radio operator, because they're frugal. I wouldn't say they're cheap, but they definitely can see value in things. And, it's crazy. Like, maybe with an additional part that you could probably spend a couple $100 on, which is a fiberglass mast. But the actual wire of it, you spend, $15 on wire, and you could literally throw the wire in like a tree or something and have the same effect. I like the vertical fiberglass mast because you can stick the wire on something and erect your antenna that way. But and it makes it easy. So I mean, there's some trade-offs, but people I feel will buy a thing because they think it solves the problem, but maybe overpay for it. Or you could build it better. That's the part that I like about making the antennas is you can build it better. Make it do different things, make it more efficient, make it go further. So I would say that is definitely a common mistake in the hobby. Is just not experimenting, but just trying to solve your problem with money. Not afraid. But some people they don't like to buy antennas, or they don't like to make antennas, and I get that. It's not for everybody. They'll go through a whole radio, soup to nuts, and go through all the insides of it, but shy away from making an antenna. Not to say that they won't buy a homemade antenna, but they, don't want to make one for whatever reason. And that's what I got for my my vulnerability. Very vulnerable about that. A lot of good time was used to learn the hard way. It was a lesson that was hard to learn, I guess. You have to put in some time to see what works, what doesn't. Not everything works. People can be mean, about what you're doing. And you just have to, look through that, I guess. Enjoy what you're doing, and who cares what other people think. All right, that's what I got. That was a good 7 minutes. Thanks.